Hello, we're live. We're live. Okay, hello. We're going to do some training on due diligence today on money or not investing. So we want to make sure that you don't overinvest or underinvest for your property, depending on whether it's going to be blue collar contractors, white collar contractors, luxury, high-end luxury as an elite, that type of thing. So no matter what level we're looking at, we want to make sure that we don't overcommit ourselves. And I know that we like to overcommit, but we don't like to overspend. Overcommit as in we overcommit our time and our aspirations and that type of thing. We overcommit on our goals, but we don't overcommit on money, i.e. waste money. So hold some questions to the end. I'll go into this now and you'll be familiar with this sheet, which is the costing sheet for SA. And tell me if you can see that, please. It's an example of one of my finest students. So we'll use this one. We won't go into the detail of the area. This is more about the costing. Yeah, all good? Good, thank you. So when we look at, especially when you're new to service accommodation, you'll get this nice warm feeling that you want to find a property. And this is how it goes. I know because I've mentored enough people now, and I know that this is what happened to myself. It's kind of like a natural state that happens. So you spend this time searching. Some search for a day, some search for 2 or 3 months, some more, and they can't find a property. It's all down to you and your own mindset and how hungry you are and how bad you want it. Will depend on how long it takes you to find a deal, to be fair. Because you all have the same education, you all have the same information, you all have the same resources. It's what you do with them and what you do with your time and what you do between what's in your head, between your ears, i.e. your mindset. So I can't control your mindset. I can help you and show you different ways, but I can't control your mindset. However, I can help you do the right thing. And in this case, it is about the numbers. So you'll go out and you'll look for a property, you'll find a property and you'll be like, yeah. I'm over the moon. I'm so excited. I'm getting this business off the ground. And then they say yes. And then it just seems like by magic, you phone me, panic mode. It's like this big red button you have on your phone that says panic, contact Ash. Shit, what's going to happen now? So what's going to happen now is you're going to start making money. As long as you have done exactly as we've told you using the core system. Obviously, you all know what the core is. And part of the core is using your numbers and your due diligence. And part of the business plan that you've done, this is all in there. So you're familiar with this, but I just want to give you a heads up on what you should be doing now. And there's a couple of you here who are pretty much brand new. So this will help you enormously. So we have the sheet on here that you're familiar with. You know, we want to find out what our competition is, who our competition is, how much they're charging, etc. Now, I'm not going to go into that detail because that's a freebie for anyone in that area. So we're gonna take that down. So what we have here, we have the basic costing sheet, which is probably more advanced than any other costing sheet you'll find out there, simply because it's been chopped around, changed, helped from you guys as well. So there's been a lot of help from input from students, especially Paul Thomas, massive input on this. And it was something that I wanted help with, getting the traffic light system, and he's done it for me. So thank you, Paul, on that. But we'll get to that in a second. So let me move that little sexy logo out of the way. So what we have here, we have our property or your property, my property, as you can see in the top left. And then we have this lovely number here. And in this case, it says 175 for one person. And like a hotel, we don't charge. You can, but you don't have to. It depends on the area again. If it was a contractors, you probably would charge for that second person straight up. But we can, with hotels and white collar, we probably tend not to. So we want to match a hotel, because in a hotel, you get the first two people for the same price. It's only when you get a third person do you charge more, whether that be a family room or an extra room or whatever it might be. So in this case, we'll probably charge, I'd say probably 45 on this one extra. So you can see here we're charging £45 extra per night for each person 3 and above. You can see how the numbers go up quite a lot. In fact, almost to double. It is almost double right to the end. Good. So then we will have in here, that should equal that number there. So that's 175 per night. And if you change that to 210, it will automatically change to 210 and your numbers will change again. But let's work that back on 175, wherever it was. We then have our worst case scenario, the blue. The worst case scenario dictates that you will have, out of your 30 nights, yes, I know some months don't have 30 nights, but in most cases they do, so we work on 30 nights. So we'll say that in that 30 nights, you are only going to have 50% occupancy, which is there, which means that you're only going to have one person staying because it's 175 or up to 2. But they're only going to be using one bed, so there's only one clean and one linen change. Now, 50% means that you're getting a different person in every single night for 15 nights in a row, or it could be 15 months, over the 30 nights, which is not good business because your costs will be extortionate, very, very high. So we need to take into account that we would probably prefer to do a 2-night minimum stay. And that's how we work. In some cases, over Christmas and over certain holidays, Easter as well, certain bank holidays, we will do 3, 4, 5 minimum night stays. If you're working this down in the southwest and you have a cottage and you're doing those, the family cottage stays, holiday lets, then you probably want a minimum of 7 days stay, because generally that's how long people normally stay there anyway. But you more than likely do it from a Saturday to a Saturday. They check out on a Saturday, check in on a Saturday, whatever it might be. And that's normally because you're helping with travel times. They may leave on a Friday night, stay somewhere on the way down, and on the Saturday they can come back. They don't get that Sunday traffic or whatever it might be. There's loads of ways that you can skin that cat, so to speak. So we would then have over here next to it, in my case, it would be more like 75 here, and then we'll look at 85 here. So your occupancy rate over here for your averages, under there you can see average. The average is what we would expect the property to perform at. And this is based on having 3 people in that property. So you're getting that extra £45. So on average, you should be looking at around about the £220 per night. Make sense? And we would be looking at 75% occupancy for that. We'll leave it back at 65 just for the sake of here. And then next to that, you'll have your best case scenario. So you have your 310, which equals 5 people staying in that property. I mean, even if we made that, let's make that 4 people that stay in that property at any one time. And that's at 85% occupancy. Again, it would probably be a bit higher than that on your best case, and I would probably make that, let's make that 90. And that means that you're going to be, 3 or 4 days that you don't have anyone there in there. You're going to allow for your changeovers and that type of thing. So we'll leave that at 90%, and that's your months when you're fully booked. Like some of you guys are operating in, I know James Williams is looking at, probably full now for July. So his best case scenario will be much higher than that because he's 100% booked. But there may be a couple of days, if you like. So he could be at 95, 96. And I know that August and all the summer months where he is, they will be the same. All right. And he's probably more like the £300 per night, where we'll do that, because I know these numbers are fairly similar to the numbers that he's probably got there, although the rent might be slightly higher. And then you come down to your normal booking fees, your card fees, your laundry, and all that type of stuff, etc. All right, utilities. So you just put those in as normal. And then where it's quite important, don't look at the bottom bit at the moment. That's just an HMO calculator. But what we're looking at here, and what I want to make you aware of, because some of you are looking at investors, is this section here. Now, you can see your furniture, 6.5, soft furnishings, 550, art for lounge and bedrooms, 500, could be less, let's work on this. Deposit to agent, there may not be any. In this case, 1,600, we'll work on 1,600, all right? It may be 6 weeks, but we'll work on 600 for now. Refresh, you might have to spend 500 quid of your time and your energy and materials, just touching up little bits of paint and that type of stuff. If you're taking on a property, you should get that done before you actually sign any contract, and then you don't have to pay for it. The landlord is actually paying for it. And the reason I say get it done before you move in, because you've got pretty slim chance of it getting done after that. All right, it can take a lot longer. At least they know that if they get that done, then they're going to get somebody paying the rent. So just make sure you negotiate those type of things. So your furniture, so if you're looking at, I don't know, something like, you could be looking at 4.5 for your furniture. And then your soft furnishings, blankets, little cushions and that type of stuff. I mean, you could get away with 400. It depends on you and where you buy from, and you buy with discounts and codes and all this sort of stuff you can buy online. There's loads of different companies that you can buy from, and I suggest you probably do buy online because you can get better rates, but it's up to you. If you want to go to Argos, you want to go to Tesco's and all those sort of stuff, feel free to do that. However, at this level, you probably need to step up a few notches. And it all depends also on the cushions and what filling you put in. So you don't want to go the cheapest filling, because those pillows go out of shape super quick and they just look really rubbish. Not the pillows, the cushions. And you deposit to your agent. Yeah, it's an outgoing at the time, but it's going to be something that's going to sit there that's going to come back to you. So you can negotiate that, obviously, with the deposit replacement insurance, these type of things. So you can put that at a lower cost. There is a cost to insurance, so you can't sort of neglect to put a cost in there. All right. Now, let's say that the rent is 1,600. What you'll see down here, which Paul helped me with, this -18 comes in at amber, which figures require tuning. That doesn't mean to say just change the numbers to say, oh, I'll just put an extra 18 quid onto the per night or whatever it is. It doesn't work like that. You need to make sure from your due diligence that you saw above, you need to make sure that you've got all of this information that's correct and it's based on numbers, not your thoughts or your hopes, even worse. So we would then go back using obviously our other offer sheet with the frequently asked questions and that type of stuff on it, justifying, so you all know what the offer sheet is, justifying that lower offer. And we could say, look, okay, we're going to go in here at 15.75. It's not a huge discount, which means you've probably got a better chance of getting it. And then we come down to here, and you can see that we're now 8 up. We are now in the green. Pure profit, time to make money. Good? Now, and you can see here on our averages, we're going to make £1,000 a month. And on our best case scenario, we've got the chance of making $4 grand-ish per month in those peak months. Now, you must make money in those peak months, and you must be ready now for those peak months, as in have your pricing set. There's no point in having £160 per night every night, or £175 per night in this case, every night for every month, because you're not going to make any money. You'll be too expensive in the winter and you'll be too low in the summer. Yeah, you'll be fully booked, but you won't make that money to help you balance out the winter months. And we want to average out at least £1,000. And I know they're about £2,500 a month with their peaks and their lower sections, lower months like your January and that type of thing. Again, you can plan ahead for not this January, you can plan ahead for next January now, seeing as we're now in December. It'd be very hard to plan ahead now for January. You should have had those bookings taken care of 2 to 3 months ago. This is why January is one of the best months to get started in service accommodation, because you're ramping up. You've got the January, February, March to start ramping yourself. You'll take the property on in February. You've got the February, March, April to get your reviews in. You minimum 5 on booking.com. And the others, you just get reviews in if and when. And then after that, you're ready for the summer, because you'll have reviews and you'll be listed nicely, and you can promote if you want. You'll be at the top, and your initial reviews will be high because your property's fresh, it's brand new. So you'll be getting 9s, 10s, 9.6s, 9.7s. You'll be getting higher scores, which again is another tip, that you must maintain that quality and that level of service all the way through to the first year, the second year, the third year. Because if you don't, you're going to start getting shit reviews, and people are going to start to say, oh, it looks a bit tired, the cushions look a bit manky or whatever. All right, they've got stuff on them that shouldn't be on them. So back to the numbers. So here we've got a green. If it's a red, so let's say it's a red, and maybe your rent is $1,750. If it's a red and it's minus 168, but this number here is £1,000 plus per month, I'm happy to do that deal. I'm happy to take that risk, because I know that the occupancy rate in my area is at least 75%. And I know that I would be making over £1,000 per month. And I know I'm never going to make this, because the way I set properties up, I will never, ever do one night stays for 30 nights, if you like. There will be times where on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, or maybe even a Wednesday sometimes, that we may do a one night stay just to attract business users in certain areas where predominantly tourists in the summer. So we can look at that type of stuff as well. Now, what we want to look at here, so let's go back to where were we, 1650? Let's just take that back. And we'll look at our costs here, and we'll see that our cost total, $7,500 for a setup. Now, over here, you see the total one-off costs. Then we've got our annual rent, which is obviously the 1650 times the 12. We've got our annual income. The annual income is based off, let's just put this back to 70. We'll go halfway between. I don't want to skew the figures if you're just kind of starting and stuff. Excuse me. So we'll look at your annual income, annual rent, is the 1650 times 12. And then you've got your annual income, which we're looking at the averages. So we'll work off the averages. And this is the averages here, the 3417. And then your weekly profit, we've broken that down to 278, which is the averages we work off, this whole entire column here. So obviously that's the weekly profit. It's annualized on 52 weeks. Your annual profit, you're looking at 14,435. Based on that, your total one-off costs will take 6 months to pay off. It will take you 6 months to return that return on capital, whether it's your capital or somebody else's. Yeah. Now, in Sam's case, she's got a property that is, she's put some soft furnishings, but it's zero because it had some really nice furniture in it. There were no touch-ups to do because it was brand new. She did some soft furnishings, some art and that type of stuff. So you can see here, and a lot of you do this as well, that it took just 2 months to pay that off. And you've heard Sam on here talking about that she paid hers off within 5 months, because she paid a higher deposit as well, I think it was. So she paid it off in 5 months, and that's an average of £1,000 per month. Good. So put this back in. Let's assume we're doing, 500 again for a touch-up, whatever it might be. Actually, no, we do it properly. We get the landlord to pay for it. You look at a 5.82 months based on the averages. Now, if you're starting in February, January, and you're going February, March, April, May, and you're getting that whole summer, all of a sudden you'll get those spike months in your summer where it's anywhere between sort of April, because you're getting Easter, you got May, June, July, August, September, and into October as well. So you got those 7 months, you get those real big peaks. And it could be a couple of months where you're getting that $4,000 here. That 5.82 months will reduce dramatically. Dramatically, it will reduce. So this is only based on your averages. So when you're talking to investors, say, look, based on the averages, it will take X amount of time, as you can see here. However, if you were to base that on your best case scenarios, which you should never do, it would be paid off within less than 2 months. So you can see that once you're up and running, so when I say to you, offer something like paying 75% of the profits, which is your profit here or here, each month to your investor until they're paid off. If you're starting now, it will be paid off super quick, which means that you will get to the 50-50 rate within the first year super quick. Means that the better your property, the quicker your investment is paid off, whether it's your own money or somebody else's, and then you are quickly into making money. And then in the third year, then you're back onto 75-25 in your favor. And if you've had it for 3 years, you're going to have that property a long time. So you're going to have the fourth and the fifth and the sixth year, your projections will just go up, but they will go up slightly and then an exponential growth. It will go vertical. Good. So that's how you should really look at your finances. So if you were to say here, right, we are spending 10 grand. The soft furnishings are $1,000. And the art, the soft furnishings is $1,000 and the art is $1,000. You're at 13.6. Based on the averages, you're going to pay that off within 11 months. Now, for something like this, where you've used an interior designer, however, your numbers will probably be more like your best case scenario or slightly less. Let's work on your best case scenario being at 70%, not 7. Working at 70%. So you're going to hit your peak at 70%, as in you're going to be getting around the £300 mark. You're going to be looking at the $3,000. And if you were to, let's just do it quickly on a calculator because I don't want to change the sheet because it will mess it up. So if we look at 13,600 divided by 2,943, that's 4.62 months. Based on your best case scenarios, that 13.6 is paid off. I hope that can help some of you see some daylight there when you're looking at spending more or less. If you are going to be spending this type of money here, or the 13.6 on a property, it has to be special. It has to stand out. It has to be one of the top 3 properties in your area. If it's not, it's going to take a lot longer to pay that off. And that type of investment, if I were an investor, I would want that money back within the first 12 months. So you need to know that you're paying that money back in the first 12 months because you're going to be at 25% as well. So you want to pay back as quick as possible. Good. And the reason you have 25%, you've got operating costs, you've got travel, you've got to do this, etc. So once that's paid off, the hard work that you put in to set that property off will continue to flow on. And you see why people say to me, why do you say it's the best time to start now? Because you've got your quiet months, you're getting the property set up, and then boom, all of a sudden it just catapults into the stratosphere of profit. Good. And then if your target is XYZ, you're going to need 8 properties based on the £1,200 per month. But if you're going to go up, you'll probably need less properties than that. I mean, Paul and Natalie were on here on Friday, and they are already financially free, and all of this within 12 months. I think we started in February or March with them, maybe a bit longer, but it's within a year. They've got 6 properties. They are now financially free, and what that means is, if they didn't have to work, or if they couldn't go to work, they could pay all of their bills, mortgages, and etc. So good, well done, guys. Awesome stuff. And that's with only 6 properties. So some people are financially free with 1 property. Some they need 20. Some they just want more and more and more because that's their plan. That's what their goals are. So again, if we put this back into the 4-5, we put this back into the 500, put the art maybe at 300, deposit, refresh, whatever it might be. Working on the averages, you can see that your 6-9 that you may need as investment to someone. You can say to them, look, based on the averages, we'd expect the money to be paid back to you in full within 6 months. Good. And then, you know, once that's done, you go to 50-50. But you want everything paid back within 12 months. Makes sense? And that's the other one. Good. So let's lose that and take some questions. Okay, so just confirming, is it best to replace, renew apartment furnishings rather than buy new for tax purposes? Yes. Renew, replace, renovate, like for like. So if you're replacing some dirty old furniture with amazing, beautiful, brand new stuff, that's considered new. So it's like for like. I mean, a slight upgrade, it's not going to make a lot of difference, you know. But if you go from Argos furniture to Versace, that's not replacing, that's not renewing, that's buying new. Good. And that's if you're doing renovations, all that type of stuff. All right. It always has to start with re. That's yeah. You just have to be careful of what you are replacing with. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? When talking to investors, should I show them the sheet? Absolutely, 100%. And you should show them your business plan. This is part of the reason we get you to do your business plan and get you to do it with as much detail as possible, because you attach all of this information, whether it be 1 property, 2, 10, 20, or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's just extra zeros. And then you can push this out to investors. However, if you just send back of a fag packet and write down numbers, worst case, best case, average scenarios, they won't understand what it's all about. Now look at those numbers and go, well, I don't know what it's about. They haven't said enough detail, so ta-ta for now. However, if you put all of the detail in there so that anyone reading it who has never, ever looked at investing in this type of thing before, they will understand it in its entirety. That's what you need to do. I don't know if anyone saw it wasn't the final, it was the last 5, I think. The Apprentice, and they went through their business plans. The first one to get chucked out was the librarian, and she got chucked out because she had put no indication of costs in there, and her numbers for turnover was so extortionate, and she was going to do 92 events a year herself. So think about that, 2 a week, and these are going to turn over, I don't know, 1.5 million or something. So Sir Alan Sugar, or Lord Sugar, was very quick to get rid of it by saying that there was not enough detail and I didn't understand your costs, and you don't understand your costs, so this is not a business for me to invest in. And this is exactly how investors out there work. And the more professional that you present it, the more chance you've got of getting funding for your business. Awesome. Now, you don't have to give a percentage of the deal. You can give a certain percentage back. And I spoke about this on a previous webinar about the funding. And that was, if they're getting 1% at the moment, and you can say to them, would you like your return doubled? Yes, please. That's 2%. It's a 100% increase from 1% to 2%. But what you've got in your head, in your mindset is, oh, I'm giving them 500, they want £1,000. Well, no, you don't do that. You just want to give an extra percentage, which is a 100% increase on their return. So you don't have to go out there and shout and scream that I want to do, I'm going to give you 12%, 10%, or whatever it might be. Why don't you try asking them what sort of return that they want? Now, I know what most people want as a return for putting in 10, 15, 20K, and that's why it's so attractive to them. And this is why they will hand over their money fairly quickly. And by the way, the only people that I will arrange and not arrange finance for or funding, but the only people I will introduce to people that I know who want to fund is the people I mentor. That's it. Full stop. No one else. Why? Because these people who fund these deals are my friends. And some closer than others, some not so close, but I still consider them all friends. So I want to look after everyone, and I want to look after you as well at the same time. So this is why I try to work out what's the best for you, and then you guys can work out your heads of terms, what's best for you, and I can kind of mitigate in between, if you like. Say, hang on a minute, mate, you're being a little bit greedy there, or wow, that's a good deal. Maybe just up it a little bit. Because you don't want them going somewhere else going, hey, I've got this amount of money. Good. I'm not 100% on buying new versus renewing. Okay, so it's all down to tax, James. If you have a rental property and you want to refurbish it, and the tax man will allow you to put the costs of that against your tax. So if you have a kitchen, so I've done 2 refurbs this year so far, and we have replaced the kitchen with the same kind of shell, if you like, the same plan, the same look, although the color's slightly different. So we have replaced that kitchen. We haven't taken the old kitchen out and put in, some super massive high-end kitchen that would fit into a Kensington apartment. And it's a pretty good way of making sure that you, again, don't overcapitalize on that property. Because I think I've told you guys, there was one quote I got, 50 grand. 50 grand to refurb a property, and it got done for 20. And I ended up getting the breakdown of that 50 grand. And there was some pretty outlandish high-end stuff that was going in. And I said, look, I never asked for this. You should have, and even when he came down, he's still over 35 grand. So it still wasn't right. But it helps you keep in line of where you should be according to the location of the property, what type of property it is, and that type of thing. And there's a reason that properties in Kensington when they're first built or refurbished, most of them are not new build, is that they put in a certain type of furniture because it's a certain amount of type of people, demographic that go in there. And it's the same in service accommodation. You're not going to go and put your luxury, like what James and Lindsay have done. You're not going to be putting that into, central Liverpool, let's say, because people aren't going to appreciate it. People aren't going to stay there. People are not going to pay that price because their expectation is not to pay over £300 per night for a property in the centre of Liverpool. If you do, it's probably going to be some 6-star joint or whatever, Victorian hotel. At times, but it could be Manchester, it could be Newcastle, any of those areas. You're not going to overcapitalize on those areas. So with the tax rules, it also helps us understand where we should be. Do you keep evidence of photos? Yeah, keep all your photos, all of that sort of stuff. Just tuck them into the file. Well, you don't tuck them into the file now. You just send them to your accountant and they put it on file using your Xero or whatever. Use Xero or, whatever accountancy you use. Good. But more importantly, it's down to invoices. So if they know that it's a $3,500 kitchen every day in that property and you've spent $13,500, they say, look, that's not a replacement kitchen. That's completely brand new. Good. Any other questions? If not, it's getting close to Christmas. 9 days? 9 days. Now, next week, there will be no webinar because next week is the start of school holidays. And I am thrilled to be spending all this time with my children. No, I am, seriously. It's good. So, yeah, Monday, and then it's Christmas Eve, obviously. So there will be no webinar next Monday. Our final call will be on Friday. There will be no call, obviously, on Friday, the 27th. And then we will resume back on the 7th of January, simply because my kids are not going back on the Monday. Good. Okay, here's a question. Just got into the back end of this session. Paul, watch the replay, please, because Natalie's text, this is important for her. Good. I have another property I want to take on but need investors. Can I call you later? Okay. From the number that we put on, go back. From the text that I've responded to Natalie, go back to this at the start, have a look. But yeah, give me a call sort of after 1 today. But that will make sense to you and what you're offering and what you need to do and what you need to show that investor. Good. You guys have a lovely Christmas too. For those coming to the Bill Nicholson pub on the 22nd, it's going to be one heck of a party. See you there. All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good one. Enjoy. If I don't speak to you, probably will. If I don't see you, have an awesome Christmas. But we'll have the call Friday anyway, and we'll go from there. All right. Take care, dudes. Bye. Mwah. Thank you, James.